Here we are, back to the show. And then, yes, the continuation of my Facebook video chat sessions with Veronica Mikers Litton, or should I say, former Commissioner Mike Shannon from the Manila Wrestling Federation. So, let's proceed. Let's cut the crap. Let's rock and roll.
How's it now?
Something wrong? Oh, the picture seems to be a little bit, do you have a good internet connection in there if possible?
I should actually have it because I'm the only person using my internet right now.
Okay, but this seems to be back to normal, so let's continue with the story. Where were we?
Starting MWF.
Yes, let's continue the story after this rudely interruption from the signals of the internet, given that both.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Yeah.
reality, kids. Okay, proceed.
Okay. So with MWF, we started MWF in late 2014. We actually had like a few meetings all through 2014, and we ended up starting training in 2015. So that's when the training started really taking form. With us, it was hard because we had a lot of baggage to deal with. A lot of our early meetings was really us just unloading on all that baggage. And then we started training. We found different gyms to train in, and the hard thing about it was that we could never really stay in one place for too long because
Expenses, that's one of them. Expenses is one of them, right? Expenses, right? That's one of them.
Expenses is one of them, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that at the time there were no wrestling rings in the Philippines.
Halata na.
No wrestling rings at all.
Obviously.
So we had to look for a gym, any gym, with a ring that was suitable for wrestling. Now that also poses some problems because we could get in some place, we could start doing our stuff, and then the gym management would go, oh, we're getting worried because we don't want the ring to break, or sometimes if we share the space with boxers, hello,
That's my wife. Okay, continue.
Yeah, so sometimes like if we share the ring with boxers, a lot of boxers, would feel kind of insecure with us. Because like the moment you have people, because we kind of hog the ring because where else were we going to train in? And also it's like I think they felt threatened because suddenly you have all these people coming into their ring, doing suplexes, doing body slams, doing hurricane ranas. And when you have people doing that, you got a crowd and people want to start watching. So we would get a lot of attention. So the moment we get settled in one ring, they'd give us hell. The management of the gym would give us hell that we'd have to move to another gym. And this happened so many times, more than enough that I could count.
Wow,
I think by the time we got to Cinema Square, we had virtually gone through every possible boxing or mixed martial arts gym in Manila.
I understand that. I understand that.
And it was just all of us, just trying to find a space. That was around the time Rex Lowen started training. That was around the time Fabio Makisig started training. Kick Striker started training. So that's when the early roster started to come
Flourish.
together.
Yes.
Yeah, and then thank God for Fabio Makisig, because he was like, okay, if we can't train here, maybe we could train in Ninja Academy. So
Ninja Academy, where's it located anyway? QC?
Ortigas.
Ortigas,
Closer.
I see.
closer, but they moved now. So we were at the old Ninja Academy, thanks to Fabio Makisig, and that was such a blessing because that gave a lot of our guys time to perfect moves.
Excellent.
It gave our guys a lot of time, not just time, but also the resources to perfect the high flying moves in particular. Because if anyone remembers, at the very beginning, MWF was the high flying promotion. We had we had the high flyers.
Yes, Robinson's one of them.
Yeah, Ninja Ryujin's one of them. Ninja Ryujin was someone who also trained with us because he was part of that pioneering batch.
Yes, but is he still associated with MWF to this day, despite a very long hiatus?
Yeah, he is. Our thing is that if he ever wants to, when he wants to come back, when he's good and ready, the doors are always open. That's always been our thing.
Good.
So that's when we had a lot of the trainings coming in, and then we did like an open call for people who want to join us. That's when Morgan Vaughn came in.
Yes.
That's when Moises Liwanag came in.
Yes.
That's when Frankie 30 came in. So by the beginning of 2017,
yes,
we already had that first roster in place already. And when that first roster in place and secure, and no one using MCS, we went back to MCS.
That's good news. It's a chance, Everyone call MCS the rite of passage of Philippine Pro Wrestling at wala nang iba. And there's a good reason why.
Yeah.
Until it's closing. The last wrestling organization to use will have to be the short-lived Art of War Wrestling. And the rest is history.
Yeah. Oh, no, the last wrestling show that happened there was an MWF show because Art of War had their show in Valkyrie.
I'm saying about training,
the way it worked was that MWF would train in the mornings and Art of War would train in the afternoon.
So you two kind of share a little bit, But
Yeah,
I remember you guys had a good association with the other company. That's AOWW at that time. That was in 2017. Where they just started and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
2017.
2017.
Yeah, I mean, our whole thing is that we weren't really out to step on each other's toes or anything. They wanted to do their thing. We wanted to do our thing, and our whole deal was like, okay, as long as we respect each other, we're kind of good. Yeah, that was basically it. So yeah, MWF would train in the mornings, Art of War would train in the afternoons. So we would work around each other's schedules.
Yeah, speaking of which, 2016, late of 2016, you had your first show after all these, hardships and difficulties on finding that one until the Ninja Academy, which was a lifesaver. Thanks to Fabio Makisig.
Oh, yeah.
Shoutouts to you, man. I'm glad to have you because here's the thing, Mikers. The first time I meet this guy, no. Ox na Ox. I love the character to this day, whether he's a heel or a fan favorite. But more on that later on. Now, the debut show of MW will have to be on late of 2016. That was HistoryCon. Am I that correct?
Yep, you're HistoryCon.
Sadly, I wasn't in there because I don't know what happened at the time. But two of my close friends, they saw you guys in an action. Husband and wife duo, who is still associated with them to this day. And their daughter's my, what do you call it? Inaanak. I'm one of the godparents.
Okay.
Now, you kind of jump ship for a couple of months before going to MCS for your first MWF live. You know already that was the first time I saw you there. and some of the guys would
Yeah.
make up with MWF and everything. And even the PWR guys were there. So they were selective, if you
Yeah.
ask me, including my fellow batch 6 mates in there.
Mhm.
Let's say we have a good time watching there. I even had with Martin, Martin from Jobber Talk. He's already in Brazil. He's not quite safe, but hopefully he will not be one of the victims of the COVID-19 that we still
Yeah.
experience to this day, which to me is absolutely fucking ugly. He says it. Anyway, that's where my love for MWF, the way you show the product and everything, you sell it to us, we're buying it. In my part, it's a bit of a personal thing because I found MWF interesting too much like my taste with PWR. I first had my taste with PWR like August of 2015, the first PWR live at MCS, and the rest is history. I do have some pictures with the stars at the time, which
Mhm.
include CBL and yeah, him, the guy who got his ass kicked at MMA, Ice Yoga. No, that's Mayhem Brannigan. But we all heard about the backstory of that man behind the Mayhem Brannigan character. That's from Sony Go and malupit. I guess he's one of the primary reasons why some of you and you guys co-founders of MWF left PWR, I believe. Um, that's business differences or creative differences, or just
Uh,
what we call that.
eh,
What do you call that? Parang nang mamatigas o nang mamayabang. I want to know on your part a little bit.
so the 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 best way I could describe that transition from PWR to MWF for some people, at the end of the day, it depends on who you talk to.
Mm.
It depends on who you talk to. Because everyone has their own reasons. And I am only partial to my own personal reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't like having to talk for other people.
I understand. I understand. Believe it.
So that said, a lot of people had different reasons for wanting to run off with me on what would become MWF, because at the time it started because of all these different issues and like people wanting certain positions backstage and
Which one?
different reasons. I became persona non grata there in PWR.
Bullshit.
So no, again, like I said, it was bullshit at the time, but looking back at it, it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. It really is.
I understand that. Mm-hmm.
So, it all depends on who you talk to, because when I had that final meeting in Wendy's with everyone, when I was sent, I had to go there to defend my booking when it turns out everyone wanted to fucking fire my ass.
Bullshit.
Yeah, no, it happened. It's something we've talked about. It's something that everyone's talked about. It's something that's been referenced.
For quite some time.
It's already part of the story. But at the time, I knew that I wouldn't be happy in my capacity there, and especially like it. So I basically told people during that meeting, "Hey, here's the deal. This is how I think a wrestling promotion should be run and how it should be operated. This is why I say no to things, because ask anyone who's worked with me, I'm much more prone to saying no than I'm prone to saying yes."
Okay, it's more of a yes and no thing, I guess.
Yeah. No, because my whole thing is that I see for me personally, I see the bigger picture. I see where I believe we all should be, not just today, but in 5 years, in 10 years, I see those things. And if wrestling is going to survive, as far as I'm concerned, we have to do a better job. All around, we have to do a better job.
Right.
So that's why I am the way I am. So I basically said my piece during that thing, and I said, look, at the end of the day, whatever happens here, if I'm gone, I'm probably going to start up a promotion. If not, I'm pretty sure I can find work somewhere else.
That's a lot of options.
Yeah,
but you managed to make it with MWF, and I gotta salute you for that. Now let's get continue.
Yeah. But going back, I basically said that during that meeting. I'm gonna start up a whole thing. Whatever. So after that, Robin Sayan and Tala got in touch with me. We hung out. They weren't happy. If you want to know why, you better ask them. Like, I don't want to tell anyone's story for anyone else. But
I get the idea. We leave it to them. If they were my guests one day, especially si Robin Sain. Yes, he's a Caloocan guy, but he's residing in San Juan as of now with his family, of course.
A lot of the people in MWF are natives to the San Juan Mandaluyong area. Yeah. A lot of us have ties in Mandaluyong.
Okay. That is
Lucha
cool.
lives there. Lucha lives there. Fabio Magistic lived there for a while. Like, there's a lot of...
Taga Batasan si Fabio, right? Batasan QC.
Like, for a while, he was staying in Mandaluyong. So there's a lot of people with ties to Mandaluyong and MWF. In fact, people before used to call them the Manda Boys.
Ah, interesting. Now I get the idea.
Because they were the group from Mandaluyong. But so different people had different reasons for wanting out. They had their reasons because what I can say is that they felt that they couldn't be the wrestlers that they thought they could be if they stayed there. Better if it comes from them, but that's a gist. With some other people, they realized that they couldn't, from like a booking standpoint, they couldn't book the things that they would rather book if they were still there. So the reasons why people ended up coming over with me to MWF, it depends on the person.
I see.
It all depends on the person. They all have their reasons. My personal reason is just, ever since I was a kid, all I wanted was access to live wrestling on a regular basis. That's it.
Yeah, the result of the hard work will have to be Action Novela TV, but there will be a longer story for that. Yes, MWF stuff. Now, on my part, I enjoy watching it with some of my friends there from within the Philippine wrestling community, and my connections with some of the guys from PW, especially the Batch 6. Now, the next show and onwards, yes, it was the first time I see one of your good friends, the CBL, in there, along with the Machine at the time. Speaking of Machine, it's one of my favorite. I would really love to have him on my show, so he could tell his side on.
Dude.
He's more professional, in my opinion. He's more professional than some of the guys that I might know, but I can't be too sure if I'm telling the truth. We're gonna have to find out in the future. Don't be, dear. Okay. Now, that was what year did you reconnect with the man behind the CBL character after you left PWR?
The day of MWF Live.
Ah, yes. You had a bit of a few conversations, but you probably heard that he's no longer affiliated with that company because of what happened in 2016. I already told you a while ago that was the last I see him in the realm, REAL, letter M, yeah, realm, known as PWR. and then I need to know your reaction about when you discover it on December of 2016. Shocking, isn't it?
What my
Regarding,
when
you know him.
okay,
Yeah.
surprised,
Surprise. But not that shocked.
surprised. You know, honest to God, the best thing I could tell anyone whenever they ask me about this is that it goes back to the fact that the whole scene was created by marks. Very young marks who were under the age of 25.
Achung.
You have a bunch of young marks who just don't know any better. They don't have the business presence as entrepreneurs at that age. They don't have the presence of minds as workers or as wrestlers at that age to be able to and have to carry and to have to shoulder a responsibility that big. Like whatever happened there for me, the truth is probably in the middle. But I think something like that, looking at it now as a 31-year-old adult, whatever happened there, it was bound to happen. If not by the players there, it was bound to happen by someone else. It's an unfortunate thing that happened for everyone involved in it. It's incredibly unfortunate.
Yes.
But at the same time, you're dealing with a company that's run by people under the age of 25 who don't have that maturity to lead a business.
Yeah, but they had to do what they had to do if they were to survive. Because you know very well, as much as I do, we all heard it, that him would be single-handedly responsible for putting the industry out of its map in the Philippines, on which at pang sabihin natin on my part, pang medyo kulang pa ata to. You sure you got all the concrete evidence? Well, there are many podcasts, social media platform in any given capacity, anything we've seen in there, especially in 2019 when my reaction when regarding the guy in the yellow hooded jacket, when I saw him, that's my initial reaction. I said to myself, ano to? I almost went bananas like Tito Soto did in some of the films, of course. We're gonna discuss that one later on because this is still to this day. But it did happen on of all places Taguig. Was that it? Yung sa BGC area, yung what mall is that?
Venice Grand Canal.
Yun! Now you're talking. Venice Grand Canal. No, more on that later on.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't like talking. I don't like talking for people. I was not there, so I am not the best person at any capacity to be asked about that.
But
honest to God, the most I can say is that it's unfortunate. I think the truth is somewhere down the middle. And again, you're dealing with a bunch of people under the age of 25 who are trying to start a business in particular that at the time has yet to be tested.
Oh, frick sake.
So, if I would rather look at that from the point of view of a 31-year-old looking at a bunch of 20-somethings.
Achoo.
So, if I think something like that was bound to happen, regardless of who the players there were, regardless of who the people there were, regardless of the location, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of everything. Because you have a company that's founded by Marks. MWF is also founded by Marks.
Okay, you told it already.
Yeah. So it's an unfortunate thing that was going to happen sooner or later, one way or another.
Yeah.
But with me and CBL, I was just as surprised as anyone when I saw the news. And you know, we have a very interesting relationship. Again, like, he used to come over and hang out, and he'd like crash over a lot. You know.
Out of curiosity, where he's from actually? CBL, where is he from anyway? Manila or what?
He moved here when he was a teenager, but that's a story that's best answered by him.
It will never happen unless you know it already. Leave it behind now for okay.
Yeah, that's his story to tell. But you know, so with us, as far as we were concerned, the first time I had saw him after everything was actually the first time I saw him after I had gotten kicked out at PWR was right before the first MWF live show.
Oh, okay.
And for us, it was just water under the bridge. Like, the shit that happened between the two of us, it was, as far as we were both concerned, it was water under the bridge.
It was a thing of a past already, since you guys already reconciled in any ways possible, which is good. Para matapos na lahat to. Now, let's go on with MW in 2018. You had ended your MCS days there. I was there in all of your shows at MCS until Noche Buena, which is the last one, the first Noche Buena. And then 2018, you had to start anew. And the result was double the thumbs up. Way better than 2017. You surpassed this. This is my favorite year at the time, believe it or not. Although I do miss some of the shows, especially yung Maki Wrestling Wag Matakot. Yeah, yung Maki Wrestling Wag Matakot, I was in there. But I kind of miss one of my favorite parts in there. Fabio Makisi's Kryptonite. Jorel Liwanag. Wow. Yeah.
That was a good match.
Yeah, I mean, Jorel did make her debut there, if I'm not mistaken. And then...
She made her character debut in Kasaysayan.
Kasaysayan. Okay. And then... So, their first initial confrontation was actually a tag team match. Am I that correct?
Yes.
It did happen on MW2. Am I that correct?
Yeah, Fabio and Giggs versus House of Liwanag.
And then, let's say... I mean, Fabio doesn't want to deal with that. Wait, did it happen on MW2 or is it in MW3?
And no, it most likely started MWF. That was most likely MWF2, because MWF3, that's when we did most of the first round matches for the MWF Championship Tournament.
I know that that very interesting storyline. Yes, Fabio Makisi is all about bravado. Am I correct? And then he makes his match. But seriously, ghosts and female ghosts. This is a different story already. I found this one more than just captivating. I like to, what do you call that? Invest myself into that story. Let's see how far this one goes. It's one of my favorites. But the last time they faced each other, like in later MWF shows, Fabio had to do whatever it takes to survive this contest. Even he had to win via count-out victory against Jarrell. But speaking of Jarrell, I learned about her years, probably sometime later, that the person behind that character was actually a stunt woman at her own right, which
Mm-hmm.
explains her skills were beyond useful. I like it. I wouldn't mind having her for a guest one day, but we
She's
can't say that.
awesome.
One of the best female wrestlers in MWF during that time. But I had a feeling she's the first female wrestler there, if I'm not mistaken.
There was Ashura.
Ah, si Ashura! Thanks for reminding me. Ashura! Naloko na ako. Yes, sadly we don't know what happened to the lady behind the Ashura character whatsoever. But
Traveling the world.
Yes, yes, yes. But hopefully she would return one day. We're gonna have an Ashura, who else? Jurali Wanag match, see if how this would work by all means. And then yeah, I think 1 year later is it? Luchadona, which is a
Mm-hmm.
storyline cousin of Mr. Lucha, which is one of my favorite characters too. No matter what sort of changes in there. I kind of watch these important character elements from let me see from Gerald Viola. What's the show? Was that?
Uh, MWF Storytime.
Yan MW Storytime. I watched them all. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love that one. I learned something interesting in there, and I think the Limonics were also part of it as well, if I'm not mistaken. But Fabio
Mm-hmm.
Makisig and Mr. Lucha's storyline was one of my Storytime was one of my favorites by far. Sumunod lang yung kay Robin Sane and then si Frankie 13. I watch it too. I feel like one day I want to watch it all over again because it was more than just fun. It's interesting in there. And yeah, you did a lot of MWF shows until 2019. The last one would have to be Road to Fate. That was it happens on Lucky Chinatown Mall where I went there several times way back
No,
then.
Road, Road. Wait.
Road to Fate sa ano yun eh?
Republica was in Lucky Chinatown
Yun
Mall,
nga,
and
yun.
Road to Fate was in Newport Mall.
Yeah, my apologies for that. Medyo na-affect na ako ng short-term memories ko by all means. Yes, before we go there, yes, yung sa oras ng liwang, nangyari sa Venice Canal Mall, if I'm not mistaken. That was after Halalan Special. And then, yes, we had a lot of favorites in there. But to this day, nothing definitely matched the will happen. And then CCBL made his debut in MWF. And
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, the rest is history. But I noticed that some of the guys I knew from the other company, they disappeared like without a trace, or maybe some others went out. But when the news came out, all hell breaks loose, especially on Twitter. That's for one. I read a
Yeah.
handful of it. I know you did read a handful of it from some of the guys there, and even you had to admit to me that was brutal, right?
It was brutal. We 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 saw a lot of it coming. Um, and although if there was anything that did bother me in particular, it was like seeing people who had never gone to an MWF show say, "Oh, we're gonna boycott MWF" and stuff like that.
It
Um,
was a very high risk move on the company part, in my opinion. I know you need something that guy let that guy see if he could still wrestle after what happened on not PW but the AOWW and the rest is history. We all know that. I firmly believe that he had to wrestle because that was his passion anyway, no matter what the ugly
yeah,
circumstances will be. And then you guys, you associated with this person through all these years, highs and lows like that. And then I don't know which of you had the idea to have him wrestle at MWF of all sudden. Of all sudden. Absolutely, alam ko, mukhang magkaroon ng backlash at okay, hindi ako na-surprise. It did
yeah,
happen, but to me, personally, I know it's a high risk, but if I were on that standing, I want to have that guy, no matter how ugly his reputation, not only inside but outside the ring. I want to see if he could still wrestle. Pull aside this ugly stuff and entertained. But even at your own standards, it was even difficult too because everyone know the backstory already, not kayfabe. I mean, legitimate. It was a tough decision, but you already think many times it is a good idea or bad idea whatsoever. But to have it in the storylines, well, I think it did work on my part, but I'm not so sure about everyone. But yes,
I,
they will Gus Quince turning the commissionership, you know.
yeah. So I mean, like with that, at least among us in booking, it was something we wanted to explore. It was something that we really wanted to explore. And, we also know that, the guy is at a point in his life now where he's a dad. He's a family man.
Yes, it's true.
And, yeah, and, if we just wanted to see what would happen with him if he just didn't have to think of, because a lot of people are saying that, oh, he's going to control himself backstage. No, like,
when they're happy,
no.
you guys are in charge. You're in charge. He
Yeah.
knows that he have to respect it.
Yeah, no, we knew that wasn't gonna happen. Like, cause some people, I did hear some people saying some stuff like that. We were like, no, that ain't happening.
From a good friend of mine told me he's a changed man, not the CBL or the man behind it that they used to know in terms of negative publicity way back then. I think he's a changed man, maybe a bit
Yeah.
humbled.
Yeah.
Everything. That's what I heard from
Yeah.
the former talent. You might know who he is when it came down to this number. What number is this?
Okay.
You get the idea.
Yeah.
Mm,
Like, honest, again, we knew that there was going to be backlash when we decided to go for it. Did we think the backlash was going to be that intense?
yes, it's
No,
true.
but at the same time, we didn't want that to allow us to waver from what we wanted to do.
Mm.
Because especially with the kind of storyline we were telling last year with
Yes.
Gus Queen,
Yes,
you know,
mhm.
we really wanted to raise the stakes in as much. We really wanted to raise those stakes at every possible level and really show a difference of how MWF was under Shannon and now how MWF is under Queens.
Yes.
So we really wanted to be able to do that, and we also felt that from a standpoint of the character, there was a lot of things. There was a lot of things that we can do with the character.
Yes, I know. Especially when it came down to a skit where Lucha confronts Goku Gus about this hellacious decision about having someone. It's like you're using the real life elements on that storyline, which
Yeah,
I'm into it. But the question is, how long will it last? That's a very good question.
you just have to wait and find out. You just
Once-
basically have to watch the shows and find out.
But hopefully they will revelations there because if there's a chance, you won't be the one to decide that what would the outcome may be. It would be the man behind it. If he like to tell his side on, what really happened whatsoever. But
Like again, that's his story, and
Mhm.
that's entirely up to him if he wants to do that.
Yes.
On our standpoint, with MWF, we wanted to see what else we can do with that character, especially from the standpoint of him as a heel.
It's one of my
We
favorite
really
heels.
wanted.
It's one of my favorite heels.
He's a
During
very
the entrance
effective
days.
heel.
Yes,
He's
the Royal Flush, remember? But
Yeah.
we got one left in TWR. We got one left after
Yeah.
the real life controversies, which we might tackle later on. Okay. Yes, it did work, naman. I saw him wrestle a couple of times in 2019, and I think nandun pa yung technical wrestling stuff that he represented mostly in his career, and it's something that I kind of missed it. Hopefully you understand
Mhm.
how I feel
No,
on that one.
I totally get where you're coming from.
Mm.
Yeah.
But this is in the classical brand Leo that I know during his domineering years in the old company that he used to work with, especially the original faction in Philippine wrestling, the Royal Flush. Is one of my favorite and good memories. That's the positives that I got from him. Period.
Hmm.
And it works. He's one of the charismatic, as what they have said, but relegating him to a role, well, we're gonna go there once the story is unfounded. I mean, whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then the last show that you did had early of 2020 before the nightmare. You know what I'm talking about, the nightmare.
COVID.
COVID-19. Yes. But for yung Taal Volcano, napaka-challenging at the time. We weren't able
And
to
that was
get.
just the beginning of the year.
And then the revelation that the virus from Wuhan, China, yeah, I had to lower down because misis kapag nalaman
Mm.
I don't blame her for that. I might tell you the story sometime later when we hang out. If we
Yeah.
will hang out. We call that this COVID-19 has affected lives already. No
Hmm.
questions asked. Everyone has his own experience. I can say you got yours, I got mine, everyone for that matter, but mostly yung mga, ano, poor to the poorest to the lower middle class and vice versa. Um,
Hmm.
it really hurts like hell. Bihira sila nag, what do you call that? They barely rise up to the occasion, given to the political turmoil that we're experiencing here in this country. Which is lead to this episode that, here's the thing, you already know me, that I voted Rodrigo Duterte out of principle. Am I that correct? But never I see you accusing me from being a DDS because I was never been one of them. I just voted this Gelote out of principles. But that doesn't mean I'm a supporter of his whatsoever. Although I do condone some of the 50%. The others, questionable. Although a part of me says I'm against it, but it's still questionable. If he purposely do that. Many would say that he's starting to show signs of bumbling incompetence, on which I dare not to jump conclusions because one person, whoever may be, or the other, jump into conclusions without the full complete details. You're gonna be in a lot of trouble by missing something and making a fool out of yourself by embarrassing yourself to it. Simple as that. I understand about the situation that we're in, and mostly people blame on him and the government that we're in. Yes, I understand that. The question,
Hmm.
eventually, I feel like they had to get their shit together if we were to survive. The problem is, they said to something that is unnecessary and uncalled for. What I'm talking about, with the Monday, ABS-CBN shutdown, Maria Riza's, being charged, and then earlier on, Senator De Lima. That's for one. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Okay, I don't defend Duterte's actions whatsoever, but like I said before, this is his. He is responsible for it, taking accountable. If he knows how to be the man that he used to be, but
Hmm.
I don't know what the fuck's going on within our country like that. I mean, if we were to survive, deal with COVID-19 first, not those kind of unnecessary stuff, especially sa
Yeah.
ABS-CBN. But I don't know where they get the idea. I mean, are those guys are really smart? Or a bunch of gelotes, if you will? What's your answer? Nada, nothing.
Nada.
But,
It's why I'm set on leaving the country in a few years.
hmm,
Um, I'm moving away in a few years, so
yeah, if this goes too far, if this goes too far. But yeah, the situation in Hong Kong, that's for one, and you have to agree with me. Trump is more of a businessman than being the president of the United States of America. Agree or disagree?
I don't even think he's a businessman at all. To be honest, I don't think he's a businessman at all. His dad made money through very questionable means. He just became the face behind all that money.
Achung. I remember that Trump Plaza in Makati. I saw it with my 2 eyes.
There's a Trump Tower.
But he barely went there. Barely.
No, because the thing about Trump is that Trump is more of a brand, and people pay to license the use of that brand. So when it comes to Trump Tower in the Philippines, it's basically like Trump Tower in other countries where it's just a brand. It's basically the real estate equivalent to Starbucks.
Nice. Anyway, now before the show's ended, we're gonna go on the future of the Philippine wrestling as a whole. Future. Look, Frankie 13, he recently left, but we can't say if he has any intentions to return, but it's up to him. Eventually, he's one cool son of a gun, really. Enjoying to hang out with his pips whatsoever. They may be youngin', but I'm all for the youth, if you know what I mean. And yes, since after the last MWF shows on malls, perhaps, you went into Action Novela TV on a weekly basis, but it was already pre-recorded, right? Just like this show, it's gonna be a pre-recorded stuff because I'm gonna add some ingredients in there. Funny stuff, but not this time because this is quite of a serious episode, if you ask me. And yes, Action Novela. How long will it last, if possible? Is there the shows like forever? Is there a possible chance like Republica or Road to Faded or Kasaysayan whatsoever would return, if possible?
Yeah, for sure. Our whole goal is, and I mentioned this a few times before, our whole goal is now trying to move MWF into a platform of its own. And trying to really develop a sustainable weekly product that people can easily tune into, so that when we do get around to doing the shows like Republica, Road to Fate, Kasaysayan, Noche Buena, when we get to those shows mean something. The matches you see there, they matter. Because for us, the most important thing is really, honest to God, the safety and the welfare of all of our workers.
Yes, that's for one.
Whenever we have a show, I'm sure people could say this. Whenever we have a show, I'm most likely the most nervous person backstage.
Okay.
I cannot breathe until I know every single one of our workers has made it safely backstage. The only time I can breathe is when the show is over.
I understand that. I know because they're your responsibility too, perhaps.
Yeah, and it's also a case in which, I get very concerned for workers, because wrestling in 2019 and before COVID, wrestling had become this very physically demanding. Wrestling became very physically demanding.
I understand that.
It's coming to a point where, for a lot of people, I wonder, will they be able to have the careers that Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes had, where they were able to work until they were in their 60s, in their 70s? If you're putting yourself in your most formative years at a position where you have to perform above and beyond any expectations at the get-go, right before you can even figure yourself out as a worker. I mean, people tend to forget the best periods in the career of people like Steve Austin and Bret Hart, it happened when they had a lot of mileage in the business already.
Yes, the names. Yung mga household names from Hulk Hogan and others as well.
Yeah, and a lot of that happened because by the time they had broke through, they had spent anywhere from 7 to 10 years in the business, and they had all of that time to really figure out what works for them. Philippine wrestling, it's barely a decade old.
Yes, it's just like over 5 years na, no? Oh, yeah.
7, 8 years, something like that. So I don't think it's right that you have guys going into the ring at every show doing incredibly dangerous things for little to no money and mostly for the pop of the audience.
I understand that.
Or to get a good reaction on Facebook. I don't like seeing that anywhere because no one, unless you're getting paid for it, no one should be taking those kinds of risks on a regular basis.
I understand that.
The best wrestling
because, truth to be told, what you said over there, those guys are nowhere near the dead serious professionals, mostly in WWE or any promotions, AEW like that. Even in the indies too, they were nowhere near that one. You have to agree with me on that.
People tend to forget that even on the American indies, it takes people 5, 8 years before they become a name.
Yes, it's true.
People that just don't get out of wrestling school and start main eventing shows. It doesn't happen. People have to go and get as much experience as possible, wrestle for no money in some cases, just so they can build up the experience that in a few years maybe they get noticed by like a Ring of Honor or something like that. So, you know, people in other countries have to work very hard for that. Here, you know, for the most part, you know, if you want, the moment you get out of wrestling school, there's a moment that you might start working opening matches already, which is great because people need that. That's why, like in MWF, we try to get people who do Fed Factory ingrained in every aspect of the business. And people who are ready, you know, they get a chance to work just to work simple matches, you know, just without any gimmicks, so they can get used to being in front of an audience, and they don't really have that weight of expectancy on their shoulders messing up their performances. That said, we are scaling back. We are focusing on Action Novella TV, and we're building ourselves back to those big shows because we want to basically be in a position where the hype for those shows are real.
Hopefully we can all get all the support we needed, big time.
Yeah, and for me, the most important thing there is that, you know, the whole goal for everyone, the whole goal, at least for us in MWF, is that we eventually want to get to a place where everyone could be able to leave their day jobs and be able to provide for themselves and their families through wrestling.
That's the easiest part. But it would take years for that. Maybe a decade.
It'll take years. Like we're far from there. That's a very long-term goal. So with that in mind, that's why we would rather save big stuff for the moments that they matter. Because on our side, we don't want to see anyone do it. On MWF turf, we don't want to see anyone do anything stupid in the ring.
Safety is the most numero uno concern, but not only that one. There's also the behavior of the performers or personnel in there, given to the recent controversies that we have. You're right. We're gonna tackle that one next time if you were in our next guest again. Yes. Well, anyway, interesting topic there for this episode, kiddos. But it's already beyond late, and first and foremost, thank you very much, Veronica Mikers Litton.
Thanks for having me.
I mean,
Thanks for having me.
no, you're a lifesaver for the episode 6. To me, I treat this one with such utter seriousness and everything. So again, thank you very much as a wrestling fan, and then we owe you and MW's existence big time. And then
Thanks for having me. Look, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without you guys.
Well,
we wouldn't. And honest to God, and I've said this to a few. I've said this to Pepper on Facebook. When I see you guys at our shows, because I'm a nervous fucking wreck backstage.
Okay.
I've always been a nervous wreck at our shows. So the moment that I see you guys there, it helps calm my nerves a lot. So on a personal level, you guys really have no idea how much your support means to me. So thank you so much for that.
Sure thing. Anyway, kiddos, it's the brutal one, Rolando Alejandro Zamora, and yes, Miss Veronica Mikers Litton would say good night and cheers and rock and roll.
Well, that's about it for our episode today. And then it's decided that we're gonna do 2 parts, each of them nearly an hour. It will be a fun discussion. Hopefully we don't get you bored. So let's say this is the brutal one, and I wish you all good night. And then, hey, where's the camera for? What do you mean the camera for, huh? How about this?